Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel for 6 things that we learned from Chelsea 2, Wrexham 2. I've just got back from the stadium. If you haven't yet seen the match vlog, episode 3 of the pre-season tour, it was uploaded as the previous video. And I'm kind of going to be uploading the match vlogs and the 6 things we learned videos quite close together. So I definitely recommend watching both of them. We're putting a lot of love, energy and effort into all of the vlogs, and I'm pretty tired already, and we're 3 days into the tour, but now that we're underway, now that we've seen Chelsea play for the first time, we've seen Enzo Maresca's system, we have learned a little bit today about what we can expect from Chelsea moving forward. But before we do get into anything more from Chelsea 2, Wrexham 2, and the 6 things that we learned, I want to say a massive thank you to today's video sponsor. 1 in 4 men suffer from low testosterone, and as well as this, it can do things such as lower your energy, lower your sex drive, things you obviously don't want to be prevalent in your day-to-day life. So a massive thank you to Manual for sponsoring today's GBFC video. 1 in 4 men suffer from low testosterone levels. What Manual do is they sell a kit that you guys will get delivered to your house with next day delivery. What you do is you stick this little thing that you can see in this box into your finger, you send your blood to Manual, and they will get your results as to what your testosterone levels are. From that, they can then do a plan tailored to you to make sure that you get your testosterone levels to exactly where they need to be. In the description, there is a link that will send you there, and if you use the code Benson45, you'll get a massive 45% off your order. Thank you to Manual for sponsoring this video. More information is in the link in the description. Go and order your test kit today, and let's fix this issue that men have together. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Manual for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. And we are back. Make sure you check the links in the description once you watch this video, and of course, the match vlog. So, when we take a look at the Chelsea starting 11, if you watch the match preview, you'll know that I predicted a front 3 of Noni Madueke, Mark Yu, and Tyreek George. And I'll be quite honest, I was quite impressed with all of those players. I think Noni, out of all of them, obviously we have the higher expectation for Noni Madueke over Tyreek George and Mark Yu. But there's something about Mark Yu in the first time that we've seen him play in that first half where I feel as though he just reminds me of like a bull. Do you know what I mean? He's kind of just running around here, there and everywhere, and he's looking to get in the face of defenders, looking to get in behind. And I wish he had himself a goal in this match. Of course, I wish there was a few players that scored, because then we're talking about a Chelsea win and not a 2-2 draw. But I will say this, I think we look decent. I think the way that you can expect a pre-season game to go is you get excited, and I was excited in the build-up, and I'm like, yeah, we're going to win 3-0, 4-0. People in the match vlog were saying 6-0, 6-3, crazy scorelines. But then the reality that we need to remember is that Wrexham played a match on Friday. They've been in America longer than we have. They got a draw against Bournemouth, I think it was, in Los Angeles. Chelsea literally landed 2 days ago. I landed 3 days ago, and I can tell you now, I'm absolutely exhausted. So I reckon those guys are going to be absolutely fried going into this game. So for the first game of pre-season, it's not a surprise to me whatsoever that the energy was a little bit low. We weren't as sharp as we'd like to be. And Wrexham did look as though they were going for it a little bit more. So as much as Enzo Maresca might be scrutinised here because we've drawn against Wrexham, who are a team that are owned by 2 celebrities, and in terms of football, they're a League One side, we're Chelsea. We should be beating them. Yes, that's absolutely true. But there were enough signs today that we're working on something. We're doing something a little bit different. I'm going to talk towards the end of this 6 things we learned video a little bit more about the specifics within an Enzo Maresca setup and this system that we have seen implemented today. There's a few things that will absolutely need to change if Chelsea are going to get the best out of it. But we begin the first box of this 6 things we learned, the first box of the Chelsea pre-season 6 things we learned mini-series within the series is a green for Christopher Nkunku. We saw in the press conference, I was in the press conference, Enzo Maresca was saying that Christopher Nkunku doesn't have a position. Not because he's not a very good footballer, because he's too good. The man can play absolutely anywhere. When we look at the Chelsea lineup, it looked to me as though when you've got that definitive front three of George, Gu, Madueke, Christopher Nkunku is being used as an advanced 8. And that is exactly what I said. A few videos ago, I suggested this as a potential Enzo Maresca lineup, particularly in that 4-3-3. And Nkunku scores the goal. And I'm going to put the goal up on the screen for you guys here because we filmed it in the stadium. It's a good finish, and Nkunku's got to be in that position. And this is why, when it comes to Christopher Nkunku's position, I think if we can get the best out of him in a slightly deeper role, because he's got that natural goal-scoring instinct, and when it comes to like world-class players, I think Christopher Nkunku is world-class. So if you can deploy him in a little bit of a deeper role, yes, you might not necessarily get the tenacity that you might want from an 8 in the modern game, where you want him to be really competent defensively, but also arriving in the box and scoring goals. This is where we're going to get the most out of Nkunku, arriving in the box. But the goal itself is made because of the brilliant work of Tyreek George. To get the shot away, you could see that there are certain players here today, the Mark Hughes, the Georges, that we'll probably talk about in a minute. They're out there to make an impact. And when you look at the Chelsea squad at the moment, there is definitely room for improvement. And Maresca has said it in the post-match presser that they're going to be looking to add solutions, which I do find an interesting statement. It means more signings are coming. But Nkunku is that player that I think will be the Swiss Army knife. We've heard this talked about a lot. It's a little bit cliche, but in terms of doing everything, Nkunku's going to be that guy. And he is box number 1. Box number 2, I was absolutely delighted in the first half with the performance of Romeo Lavia. To have not played football for so long, and tonight we saw him get more minutes for Chelsea than he had in the entire first season that we signed him as a Chelsea player. I thought Lavia bossed the midfield. Again, as much as we didn't beat Wrexham, we've got to be realistic when it comes to looking at the opposition. But in terms of fitness, which to be quite honest, as much as I want to sit here and I want to criticise this or I want to praise that, I want to get excited for this, excited for that, the reality of pre-season, particularly in match number 1, particularly in half number 1, is that the players are literally just trying to get fit again. And I'll bring it back to what I said earlier. Jet lag, 2 days. It's been bloody roasting in this part of California because this is difficult for these players to acclimatise and get themselves ready. But Lavia, he's been putting in the work. We've been patient. He's obviously had to be patient, and he looked like he was bossing it out there this evening. Looked comfortable in tight spaces, good receiving the ball, happy to go in for tackles too. And when you've been out injured for that long, one of the concerns about having your player come back from injury is, do they have the body confidence? Having been out for so long, and we've seen it countless times with Chelsea players, get injured, come straight back into things, rushed into things, reoccurrence of the same injury. Then you see players sometimes being too tentative. Lavia wasn't that. I thought he was the best midfielder out there for us tonight. Interestingly as well, Kane Chukwuemeka plays the whole game. And we made 10 changes at half time. But we move into box number 3. And I've given this to a combination. I wouldn't necessarily say they can bind together brilliantly. But Tyreek George and Mark Yu get a green. I know that this is going to come across a bit weird. There are some people, I've seen the comments on the vlog already. People aren't happy with this. People are already jumping the gun. They're saying we shouldn't have sacked Pochettino. Look, at the end of the day, we have got a young squad. Yes, I said I wasn't going to keep talking about that. But the truth of the matter is, there are players here that are literal teenagers. They're looking to make an impact. They're doing everything they can to suggest to Enzo Maresca that they don't want to be the next players shipped out on loan. They don't want to be the next players sold for a profit. Tyreek George is very exciting. His feet are quick. You've got the step overs. And he makes that goal. There's so many times last season watching Chelsea, you're looking at players who've got the ball on the edge of the box or just inside the box and you're like, shoot, mate. Do you know what I mean? Just have a go. George hits the ball and it makes the block, and Nkunku is there to follow it up. These kind of patterns are what we need to see. A player who has got that little bit about him to shoot when, even if the odds are against him in terms of XG, should it go in, will it go in? At the end of the day, don't try, you don't know. George shoots and Nkunku scores the rebound. I also think that Mark Yu looks as though he's got a decent little on-the-ball relationship with Christopher Nkunku. And like I said at the start of this video, I think there are some players that even if he's a little bit raw still, even if he probably isn't ready yet, and we've got to be realistic. We've seen Ross Barkley look like flipping Lionel Messi in pre-seasons, and then he's been an absolute flop the moment it becomes important. But Mark Yu and George, I think, are serious footballers that we need to see more of, and maybe, just maybe, depending on who comes in, depending on who else leaves, and injuries, of course, we might see them a lot more. Box number 4, and one of my personal favourite moments of the evening, was seeing Wesley Fofana back out there on the pitch. And look, we weren't good defensively in the second half. We were incredibly shaky. I think it doesn't help that Bergstrom came on and looked as though he'd been out on the town the night before. He was sloppy, but just seeing Wesley Fofana back on the pitch, having missed the whole of last season, it feels like a new signing again. And I think it's the same with Romeo Lavia. When I saw these players playing today, I'm like, I just don't want you to get injured. I don't want it to go wrong. But Wesley Fofana out there looked comfortable on the ball, and that is all you can ask for. The same with Lavia. You don't want to see players coming back from injury being nervous, being scared to get into tackles, and he absolutely wasn't. But now we've got to talk a little bit here about how we can improve under Enzo Maresca, because Chelsea 2, Wrexham 2 isn't really the result to get everyone shouting, and it's obviously the result that also plays into the hands of negativity when you want to look at sacking Pochettino, who's on a winning streak, and then Enzo Maresca comes in and we draw against a side in League One. At the end of the day, Chelsea, when it comes to the inversion of the fullback that we know that Maresca did at Leicester, it was Pereira, the Leicester right back, that was the inverted player. And we saw that today. Reece James was inverted inside alongside Lavia. Malo inverted inside alongside Lavia. Or not in the second half, it wasn't Lavia. But what we're going to see, I think, when Marc Cucurella is back, is Chelsea can adapt this. If it's always going to be the right side that is inverted, I think teams are just going to sit back and then use that left-hand side as the weak point. And I think when you ask Cucurella to just be a sit there at left-back, just defend, he's absolutely got nowhere near the potential of what we have seen him do in the latter stages under Poch and what he did for Spain so well. He's so good at stepping up into that midfield. Box number 5 is a red box for the left side because I think it's as clear as day. Seeing Levi Colwill at left back today, that's not where he wants to be playing. That's not where he should be playing. And then Ben Chilwell in the second half, I think, it's early doors here. Players, they're still learning Maresca's system. They've got so much information overload on top of the jet lag and all the other things and fitness and sharpness and building all these things up. But Wrexham in the second half were absolutely killing us down that left-hand side. And it was plain to see throughout the stadium. The left side was the weak point of the Chelsea team today. Box number 6 is a yellow because we've got to be realistic. To expect us to be playing free-flowing football, beautiful passing football is a bit ridiculous. So I can't go out there and say, well, we let this one go and it's a green. It's a yellow, which in the 6 Things We Learned series is always things that we can improve, and it's not the end of the world kind of things. And to be fair, something that really must improve, even in the game against Celtic in 3 days' time, we need to be quicker on the ball. I think it's absolutely okay to understand that Maresca is patient. When we've got possession, he wants to keep possession. It's quite often low risk, but then taking the risks at the more calculated moments. For a start though, if we're going to be patient, we've still got to be a bit quicker on the ball. There were too many times today where I think players, they're still getting to know each other. They probably don't even remember the full names, some of them, because we've not been together very long. You got debuts for George, you got debuts for Mark Yu, you got debuts for Tosin. There's players that have not played competitive football together, and this Wrexham team have been together now for a while, back-to-back promotions. So as much as we've got to improve, absolutely, that was not good enough out there today. That's the truth. I'm seeing already that you've got exciting potential here. You've got the Fofanas, the Lavias coming back. You've got Reece James stepping up into midfield, which when everyone's back to fitness again, you throw Enzo, Caicedo, Palmer, these brilliant footballers, Nicholas Jackson, and Chelsea will start winning games. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. It wasn't the best performance at all. Shout out to Lesley Ugochukwu as well, who scored the equaliser to save our blushes. As I said in the match vlog, I don't think other than that he was great, but there's positives. There is positives, and we're out here in the US. I'm going to stay positive. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the George Benson Football Channel. Massive thank you to Manual for sponsoring this video. Really exciting brand. I'm really happy to be working with these guys over the course of a couple more videos over the next few months. Also, check their links in the description and let me know your 6 things that you learned from Chelsea 2, Wrexham 2 in the comments down below. And by the way, we will be back tomorrow. We are heading to San Francisco in the morning, spending the day in San Francisco. We got an overnight flight to Chicago to make sure that we're there for the game in Indiana against Celtic. So stay tuned to the tour. Thanks for all the love on all of the vlogs. Make sure you like the 6 things we learned. As always, this is the Killer series on GBFC. I'll see you guys in a bit. Come on, you Blues.